There. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to is this our third Exploring Entrepreneur with Women? Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We love being able to share our passion for becoming better entrepreneurs. Today is going to be a great topic. Cheyenne's going to be talking about understanding value in business, specifically around Simon Sinek's Finding Your Why. I absolutely love this discussion, and it's going to be an amazing time. We do encourage participation, and when that does happen, if we can have actually, while Cheyenne's giving her presentation, if everybody could be muted, just so that we don't, disqualify the recording at all, that would be a bonus. And I'm going to pin her. This is all new stuff, so thank you for being patient with me. Actually, spotlight Cheyenne. And Cheyenne, off with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy. Good morning, guys. I'm super excited to be here. I'm going to make my magical slides pop up. So like Tammy said, this is our third one, which is really exciting. Tammy and I were talking before you guys joined about when we decided to kind of like get this going. It was, anything new, you're kind of like, I don't know, will this work? Is this as exciting as we think it is? And then the energy that we're feeling around it's really showed us that we're not the only ones craving a space to connect with other women and to really explore being entrepreneurs as women. And the more I go into it, the more I'm starting to recognize it's such a beautiful thing for women to be able to move into entrepreneurship, because so much of business and so much even the working world is designed around men's strength and masculine energy and, energy patterns and everything. And there's this beautiful control we have as entrepreneurs when we're working for ourselves, where we get to kind of dictate the time and we get to dictate how our business is structured. And I think that's really helping to even out the playing field for women. I think a lot of us are moving into significant economic positions because of entrepreneurship. I think it's a really beautiful thing. So thank you for joining us and helping us explore this and like helping us grow as entrepreneurs. Really excited. As Tammy said, today we're talking about understanding value in business. And I will tell you here right now, none of you sell products or services. None of us. Nobody in business sells a product or service. What you're selling is value. And today, at the end of this, I want you to walk away really understanding what I mean when I say that. I want you to shift into a mindset of looking at your business and every other business through the lens of value and how that plays into every aspect of our business. And it's about so much more than our products or services. This is going to be about creating value, presenting value, and then exchanging value. And I'm going to break down each one of those. And we're going to look at the concept of value through the lens of Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Great book. There's literally over 35K reviews on Amazon. This is one of those cornerstone books. If you haven't read it, definitely well worth the read. And if you're done reading it and then you kind of get to like, okay, that's great. I understand the power of why, but I don't really know how to get there. He has a follow-up book called Finding Your Why or something along those that will help you really dig into it. But we're going to talk a lot about that today as well. So we're going to talk about value in business, how it's the backbone of every business. It's really what business is about value more than anything else. We're going to talk about the golden circle, which is a key framework that Simon Sinek presented and Start With Why. He's well known for it. And he has this really beautiful skill in taking a complex, deep concept and presenting it in a really easy to understand, actionable way. He's one of my favorite thought leaders and authors because of that. And then we're going to tie it into the benefit ladder, which is a marketing tool. What I want you guys to have is both the mindset and then to start developing a skill set to actually apply it. Because so often in business, we sit back and we learn and we learn and we get strategy, but it's in the action that we start to see results. That's where we start to really see, money coming in the door. And the benefit ladder is going to be a tangible piece so you can see how you start to apply this starting with why in your actual business. And I'm sorry for my voice. I was at a dance competition with my daughter this weekend and all the like cheering and yelling and screaming to wore out my voice. So I have my Phoebe Buffet voice going on today too. No singing, I promise. Okay. So value is the backbone of our businesses. I don't care if you're small scale, large scale, every business is actually based on an exchange of value. We create value, which is our product or service. We present with value, which is our marketing. And then we exchange value, which is going to be the delivery and revenue generation. I'm going to go a little more into this. When we are creating value and we're looking at our products or services, they have to contribute. They have to make an impact on the daily lives. They allow them to perform a function. They give them an emotional experience. Something about our product or service improves the lives of the people that we have that transaction with. And when you think about the concept that we have around slarmy salesmen or snake oil, people are selling snake oil. What that really is our way of articulating this unconscious norm. We have an unconscious agreement that good business done right involves an exchange of value. When we have a slarmy salesman or someone selling snake oil, what we're actually saying is they are not delivering value. It is not actually a reciprocation. That's what we're actually pinpointing when we talk about those type of concepts. So creating value, our products or services are supposed to provide some kind of impact on the lives of the people we're serving. And then we move into presenting value. This is our marketing. So this is where the type of communication we're having with our market and our audience should demonstrate the value and the benefits of our product and service very clearly. This is why information is very low value in our society, because it's really easy to access information. It's more about making sure you're tapping into those deeper senses, which is going to be the why that we're going to go into in a minute. And then we're talking about exchanging value. This is that actual point of transaction, what we think business is all about. But this doesn't mean nothing. This gets really, really hard to push if we haven't presented value and marketed and then created value within our product or service. So exchanging value is where our customers are going to come to us and they're going to trade money. And psychologically, money is just a representation of value. It represents the time and effort they put in to generate that money for themselves. And then them exchanging it with us is in anticipation of receiving the perceived value we've presented with. So even in that moment of exchange, we're not really purchasing a product or service. What we are doing is we're exchanging value for another form of value. And then the money we get and the revenue we generate allows us to pour more value into our business, to support our operations, to support an income for ourselves. That's just circulation of value, right? And ideally, we pour it into creating better products and services and better marketing. And then that's where we get this beautiful cycle of increase in value for both our clients and customers and for our businesses. Now, this is just the basic concepts. When we want to really tap in to a powerful business that can really grow and really become sustainable, we want to start looking at this kind of framework. This is from the Starting with Why, Simon Sinek. And he, a lot of this kind of ties back into branding for me. It's about really tapping into the core reason of your business. So he really displays in the book how a lot of people start from the outside in. A lot of businesses are built first on their what, which is going to be your product or service that your business offers. And then they might move into a how, which is the specific actions and methods or practices that set your business apart. That's your differentiation. But quite often we don't ever end up at the why, which is why I like branding so much, because you have to know your why when you get into branding. And your why is the core belief or purpose that drives our company. I love this expression. It's why our business exists beyond just making money. This is beyond the profit. And one of the reasons I love working with small scale businesses and entrepreneurs is that I have yet to encounter somebody that I've worked with that doesn't have a really deep drive to make a difference besides money. Money is lovely, actually, with women, especially. Sometimes we have to lean heavier into being comfortable with making money, but we always have something beyond the profit that we've created our business for. And that's really at the very center of your why. In the book, to help make this a little more tangible, Sinek uses the example of Apple quite a lot, which I really love. I'm an Apple girl myself. And I've used Apple since I was a teenager, and it was in the computer lab at school in the 90s. So I love Apple, but the brand is even more genius than anything. Like, it's just such a stellar example. We studied it in marketing school, actually, as a case study, because it's so good. So he talks about how when Apple created their brand, their big why is to think differently for the grammatically correct ones amongst us. And it's about innovation. It's about design. For them, they really believe in ease of use. And if you think about that why, you could take that and apply that to a lot of different industries, right? Being different, think different, design, aesthetics. It really doesn't even sound like it matters what they're making. And that's the beauty of it, because they took that why and then they moved out to the how. And that's where they became known for creating products that, like, anyone remember the old Walkmans? To date myself, they were big and bulky, and technology and even the cell phones and like the Blackberries, they were more about functionality and even durability than if they were sleek and sexy. And then Apple shows up with this why of making think different. And don't they show up starting to make cell phones and iPods and everything sleek and sexy? And that's not what technology was supposed to be at that point. But because their how was based on their why, they did it differently. They stepped out of the norm and they applied their own views to it. And then that became their what. So even though they made the same type of technology that was available, laptop computers, desktop computers, cell phones, music players, they became such a dominant market player because instead of starting with their what and just kind of copying what was already there or meeting the standards or trying to exceed them, they really started with a why, and they kept true to that, and they made something that wasn't available in the rest of the market. They stood out, and they are so beautifully consistent with the way they produce their stuff that it creates a longevity in the people who become Mac people or Apple people. I'm an Apple person. I will, like, every time I need a cell phone or a new MacBook or a new computer, which is clearly a MacBook, I always go for Apple because I know what they're going to give me. I know it's probably going to be pretty. I like pretty things. I like my stuff to look nice. I spend hours on my computer, so I want it to be pretty. And I know it's going to be really easy to use because I don't want to have to fiddle with technology. I want technology to serve me. I know I'll be able to get my phone up and going within an hour. And that is because of Apple's why. And because I know whatever product they put out there, I don't have to research it. I don't have to double check if it's going to do that. I believe in the why of Apple and I can trust it. So it means every time I move in to purchase something, I choose Apple specifically because that why is there. It's not even about their what. And that's the power of building a brand and building a business, starting with why rather than starting with what. Apple is a really big example, clearly, but this works even on us small scales. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So to go into what happens when we take this circle, the golden circle, and we start with our why when we're talking about these different ways of creating, presenting, and exchanging value. Now, when we take this view of business and we lace in the golden circle, we end up in a place where each part of this value is even more robust. This is a Apple style business. This is the business that has started with why, and this is the difference it makes. When we're creating our product and we've started with why, our products and services become intrinsically valuable. Like I mentioned, I will go and purchase a MacBook because there's an intrinsic value to me in the beauty of it and the ease of use. It's no longer about the functional value, would it let me run Zoom? It becomes intrinsically valuable to me. And this makes the transactions more deeply meaningful for aligned customers. People who believe in that same type of why, or they want it in their life, they go seeking out your products and services rather than you having to push it. And it becomes much more than a transaction for you or for them. They start to build a relationship with your why, even more than your products and services. And then when you start with your why, with presenting your value in marketing, which I absolutely love, this is when we start to turn from promotions into invitations. I know everybody that I've talked to about marketing, they're like, I don't want to chase people. I don't want to have to be chasing people down and using, manipulative sales tactics to convince them to check out my stuff. I want the people who want what I have to come to me and to be interested in it. That is always the best case scenario. As Tammy says, I don't chase, I attract, right? This is how you do that with marketing. When you take the power of your why and you build it into your marketing, you start with why in your marketing, it becomes a pull for the right people. Apple has an absolutely iconic ad from 1997 when they launched the campaign, Think Different. This is when they were really in the middle of this. And it's like all of these iconic historical figures in black and white. Um, I think it was like overlaying their speeches. And the whole point was to position Apple as being those who break the status quo, those who think different, those who are artists and creatives. And it was such a brilliant way to bring a new market into the technology industry. Because at that point, right, like it was like Bill Gates, PC computer people, and Apple was like, no, we're for the counterculture people. They really brought that why of think different into their promotion. I'm not even sure it showed a product. Apple is famous for not showing their products on their commercials because they're not selling the what. They are selling the why. And that brought in people who are like, yeah, I'm kind of counterculture. I break the norm. I like to go against the status quo. So that means Apple is a brand for me. That's my kind of computer. That's my kind of laptop. That's my kind of thing. And that's the difference between starting with your why versus starting with your what or even your how. It's really, really powerful. And all of the really strong brands, that's what they do. And then when we've stacked these two values on top of each other, when we've really created a product or service that embodies our why, and then we've created marketing and we've presented that value in our communication, and we move into the exchange of value, the actual transaction with our customers or clients, this brings in, it means that the people who reach that point are like-minded, they're aligned, they're eager and excited to bring this value into their life. And this takes it from being a simple transaction and it turns it into an opportunity to build relationships on shared values. You will find your why is probably going to be closely aligned with one of your personal values. And this is such a big part of branding. When you can really communicate that in your presentation and you can really embody that in your products and services, it attracts people who hold the same kind of core values. And so it becomes a relationship. And then you get client and customer retention, which anybody who's been in business any length of time, you want client and customer retention because it's always much more economical to keep a client or customer coming back and to keep nurturing that relationship with them than to acquire a new one. And the other part that I really, really love about this is that there's such a greater sense of perceived value. If you sell like wooden spoons, you could go down to the dollar store and you can buy a wooden spoon for $3 now because of inflation. Thank you. Or you can go down to a really cool, well-designed, kitschy store downtown and buy a $10 spoon. If we just looked at functional value, which we're going to talk about in a minute, people be like, why would you ever buy a $10 spoon? That makes absolutely no sense. You're not receiving any more value for a wooden spoon than, for a $2 wooden spoon than a $10 wooden spoon. That's such an illogical choice. But people gladly go downtown to that cute little kitschy kitchenware store and buy a $10 spoon if the why is threaded throughout. Maybe their why is about using natural materials and paying artisans a living wage. Maybe their product or service embodies that why because it's sourced from a small scale artisanal organization in a lower income country and they're paying them a living wage. Maybe that $10 spoon represents that. And then they present that in their marketing and they share maybe the story of one of their makers who's able to keep her teenage daughter going to school because she can now buy her menstrual products. And then when you go down to that store to buy that $10 spoon, the perceived value of this is no longer a wooden spoon that you're going to stir your soup with. You have now made this huge difference in the value you see, your customers and clients see in that $10 spoon. It is worth $8 and beyond to them. You could probably sell it for $20, right? So they're excited. The perceived value in our products and services change astronomically when we start with our why and we make sure it's built into our products and services and it's presented in our marketing. And even in the exchange, you want to keep that continuity going. You want to be fully embodied in that. You'll notice even like in Apple stores, their stores are really beautifully designed, right? And they're supposed to be easy to use. It is embodied even in the transaction stage. So That's the mindset of value, what we talked about there, and how to bring your why into the value you're building into your business. I want to give you this is a bit of a skill set. So now it's like, okay, great, my why. Now, how does that, what does that actually look like when I sit down in front of my computer to do something in my business, right? One of the clearest ways for me to demonstrate for this for you guys is in marketing. A, because I'm a marketer. B, because marketing is the place I know a lot of business owners are looking to get more empowered and skillful in. So this is the benefits ladder. It's a marketing tool that shows our product or how our product or service brings value to customers. So we've been talking kind of like the big overall view of your business. This applies to each individual product or service. When I sit down to design a promotion campaign for a client, I always take the product or service I'm focusing on and I break it down into these 4 layers of value. So at the bottom, we have unique features, and then we have functional benefits, emotional benefits, and societal benefits. Most of us are pretty good at these 2. We kind of have an understanding of what the functions it brings to people, and we kind of have an idea of, what makes our approach special or unique. Those are the lower levels. They are very hard to differentiate on those levels. When we move into emotional benefits and societal benefits, we're starting to tap into our why. Most of us, when we have a big core belief around our business, it's some kind of emotional impact we want to have on the people we're serving, or it's a change we want to help create in society. These are key. If you want a strong campaign, you need to dig into your why. I have run a gym campaign using these, and I think I had $200 in ad spend, and the ROI on it was like 4,000%. It was absolutely ridiculous. And it was because in the landing page, in the promotional content, in the advertising, in the social media, I mentioned all 4 levels of this. It was a previous to the holiday campaign to ramp up gym membership. And I tapped into the holiday hustle and women being so busy that they would forget their self-care, right? They wouldn't make time. They would have this like tightness of stress and nowhere to relieve it. And anybody who's been through that, I'm sure you get what I'm saying. So instead of talking about like the unique features of we have 20,000 square feet of gym floor, we have squash courts, I actually talked about the societal benefits more so and the emotional benefits of like, even in the middle of the holiday hustle, women, like, let's claim this space to re-regulate ourselves and to take a moment to take care of ourselves. And that resonated so strongly that it was a hugely successful campaign. We need to know our why to get into that. So here's the breakdown of each of those levels. I'm dinging. So our unique features are the special things about our products or service that solve customers' problems or meet their needs uniquely. We'll use like a cell phone as an example. Let's say the unique feature is the 3-lens camera. That's just something unique on the feature level. And most of us can grasp this. This is where we'll start. And then we have the functional benefits, the everyday advantages the customers get from using our product or service. Something like it makes it easy for them or they're saving time. The 3-lens camera allows us to take high quality professional pictures. That's the functional benefit. The emotional benefit, this is where the juice starts to flow. This is where we tap into how our customers feel when they use our product or service, like feeling happy or relieved with the 3-lens camera and the professional pictures. Maybe they feel empowered or creative or really proud that they can capture, everyday family moments in a high quality way. And then societal benefits. This one can be harder to really wrap your head around. You might have to spend some time with this. People, especially if we tend to be humble, which as women, we tend to kind of like, there's a lot of humility ingrained in us. And the societal benefits are the ways our product or service makes a positive difference in society. Something like supporting local communities or protecting the environment. Something like a 3-lens camera, which is like, how does that make an impact on society? We trace it to the functional benefits. We're allowed to take high quality pictures on our phone. The emotional benefits is a sense of pride and empowerment to capture everyday moments in high quality pictures. The societal benefit is that we become the own documenters of our lives. We have the power to trace our history and our kids' history and our moments and our celebrations with our phones in a high quality way. That really empowers people on a larger collective way. So every product or service you have has these four deep levels of benefits. If you're not tapping into them when you talk about them, you're leaving value on the table, and it will be part of the reason why people maybe aren't as responsive as you're hoping they would be. So that's the end of that part for me. I think Tammy's going to open us up for questions now.
Absolutely amazing. Let me figure out how to remove the spotlight.
Yes, please.
All right. That was great. And yes, I'm an Apple fan too. I actually call it Apple Jail. It's but for better or worse, I'm stuck. I tried to get out. It was a nightmare, so I'm back in Apple Jail. I guess my question is, like you gave the example of Apple, and everyone's really familiar with that. I think another example that I like to consider is Sarah Blakely. Now, I know Carrie Ramsey is one of her favorite people, and I think it's incredible that the ladder that you described, the emotional, the societal, the functional, the unique, she knocks them all off. When you think about what Spanx does to you, can you maybe describe how, what process she might have used to come up with that?
So I love her because she's all about empowering women and helping women feel comfortable, right? Which is like you think of undergarments, you're like, no. But that really is the why behind what she does. And the other thing I love about this, when you start with that strong of a why, you can branch out into different products and services, right? You're not stuck into one thing. And for her, it was all about helping women feel confident and empowered and comfortable. So she was willing to take this whole undergarment industry, and she had her own personal need, and those were her personal values, right? She wanted to feel confident while being comfortable. So she designed a product that met that. And then because she built that into her company, the women who had that same kind of core values, like, yeah, I like feeling looking good, but I don't want to feel like I'm in an iron cage to do that. There has to be something better. And she's like, yes, there is. And because she has that why threaded throughout all of her stuff, instead of becoming like, oh yeah, another female telling us how we have to look, another contraption saying, we have to hide all our imperfections, it actually became a source of empowerment, which is such a place of it's such a source of the growth and success of her business, is because of how strong that why is.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. I'm just going to ask one more question and then we're going to open up. We love to have open discussion so that we can help each other understand. We can ask the question that we need, and chances are somebody else on this Zoom is going to have the exact same question or have a pretty good answer for it. I guess my next question is, what strategies would you recommend to someone who is struggling to identify their why? Now, when I heard this book, I was sitting there, my why, my why. I'm a handy woman. Why would anybody want to? And it, you know what? It was a mental process on trying to come up with this. So, do you have any, strategies that might benefit the person trying to discover their why?
So this is like my favorite thing that I do with people. I love working with people. They're like, I don't really have. I'm like, oh, yes, you do. Let's go into this. And like leading questions is like, well, what would happen if someone didn't have that in their life, or what changes for people? So really thinking the journey your customers go through. And if your most perfect example of the customer you're the most proud of, your customer client, you're like, that's it. That's exactly what I want. Think about the difference between where they were when they started with you, or before they purchase your product, and where they are after. And that after is going to be part of your why. It's a huge part. Like I mentioned earlier, Sinek actually has a follow-up book as well to help people through that process. But I think just sitting with it and really like, what is the impact you want people to have? That clearly is something really important to you. And digging a little into your own personal values, that will be another source of it. There's going to be something. I know you and I, Tammy, have had this conversation a few times. I actually think childhood trauma is beautiful, because I think a lot of us build businesses out of childhood trauma. I think the things that we experience, we're like, I'm going to make a change in the world and I'm going to make sure other people have something opposite to what I had. So I think there's a lot of digging into what we feel could be better in the world. And that's a place that we build a lot of our businesses off of. Tammy, do you want me to present the question for the group now?
I do. Before you do that, I just want to make one comment. We talked a lot about emotion, and it's not just the good emotion, but it's the bad emotion. Like when you think about your why. So I'm going through this personally right now. I'm looking for a real estate agent to list my house, and the agent who I had intended to use did three things that really made me feel uncomfortable. So I reached out to someone who I do trust and I said, like, am I seeing things here? What's going on? Like, it just gave me a horrible feeling. And the person who I trusted, you know, qualified that my feeling was correct. And that meant a lot too. So it's not just, it's really considering the good and the bad, I guess. So Cheyenne, why don't you go ahead with your thought-provoking question?
So one of the pieces that I think it's important. Can you spotlight me for a second, Tammy? Dun, 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 dun. Thank you. I'm big again. Yay. One of the things that I think is really important when we're doing business is that our why has to not be about profit. Profit's great. It's what it takes to nurture and grow a business. If your why is about getting as much money in the door as possible, you're going to get the ick like Tammy got. Tammy and I talked about her real estate agent. And it was because she could sense that there was just this push to land her, and she wasn't anchored into a why of showing up with the utmost integrity for her clients or doing the best she can for the clients. She was her why was anchored in how do I land this job? That's why it's so important that we have something beyond just making money at the center of our business. That's value. If our business is anchored into wanting to make money, the energy we're really going to give off to people is we're looking to extract as much value from them as possible. When you show up instead really anchored into how do I provide value for people as much as possible, that's when they show up with their wallets open, being like, I sense that value and I'm super excited to have it. And here's my reciprocation. It's a huge difference between anchored into business for profit versus anchored into business to contribute. Very, very big. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you guys a question, and our question's going
Cheyenne,
to...
before you give the question, I see that there's a question here on was the benefits letter part of the Simon Sinek book?
No, I added that in because I wanted to make it actionable. It's a marketing thing, Carrie. I think he takes a lot of marketing concepts and he reframes them. And so I wanted to show you how you can apply this when you're actually sitting down to do your communications. So this is going to be our question, which is going to be what is the what, how, and why behind your business? Don't worry about getting it perfect. We just want to hear what's at the top of your mind right now. And to go back to the golden circle, again, your what is going to be your product or service. Your how is the unique methods or systems you use. And your why is that deeper reason behind what you're doing. And just to give you an example, my why was, luckily, I started with my why. I'm also a very internally driven person. And my why is about my deep, deep, deep belief that local consumerism improves the quality of life of the people in the community. I think consuming on a small scale increases social networks. It gives us a sense of connection and belonging and contribution. And I think that's absolutely crucial. From my background in museum studies and psychology and everything else, I think it's one of the pieces that we're missing right now, and it's causing a loss in quality of life. And I believe this so much. I live my life this way. My children are raised this way. And then my how is I support the growth of local businesses and small scale service providers and producers by connecting them to their markets. And I increase local consumerism by raising awareness of local consumer options and small scale service provider options in local markets. And my what is marketing services and coaching and consulting. If I just started at my what and it was like, oh, I do marketing, I would be the same as everybody else. It would be very hard to get any deep sense of connection with me. And people would just go to anybody else that's offering it on that level. It's my why that lets all you great people connect with me. And it creates that sense of relationship and community far beyond a transaction. So here is your question, ladies. What is your what, how, and why behind your business in whatever order feels right for you?
I thank you for that, Cheyenne. And I just want to confirm and clarify for everyone. So the main portion of our the way that we set up our presentation is, the first half is the presentation. The second half hour is, like an open answer question type of thing where we really try and stay focused on the topic. And then we have the meeting after the meeting. So we keep it open after 10 o'clock if people want to stay and kind of have just open different conversations. So I just want to put that out there. Now, Kat, you had a question about content. Can you clarify on that?
So, I can answer this question and do that after too, if you want. But I think what it was is this is now brought up, um, because we're being told a lot of the times info, and I just heard Cheyenne say info anybody can get, and that's where I'm at. Is that one of my teachers said she sees a lot of, for menopause practitioners, she sees a lot of women giving away too much, and I had that thought because I haven't been heavy in my socials at all, and I'm just prepping to gear up, and I'm trying to think what is it that I should be saying, because if I give all my information, why are they going to coach me with me? Because once they have all that information online, why would they pay to coach with me? So then all of a sudden a light bulb moment has gone off and I'm like, and her marketing is a lot of, she's tons of testimonials, but she's served a lot of women. I don't have that built up yet. So I need to talk about something different, which now I'm understanding is my why and what my service is to community and things like that. So this is like all of a sudden this is where what I needed to hear today, and I'm so glad I hopped on. But I don't, now I'm like, oh, this is a lot to unpack. And so what I'm thinking is I need to now look at your questions and then try to break that down. And then I was trying to type them while you were asking them, so that, and then I'm starting to get confused. So I think it's just I've had an overload. But this is amazing, and this is exactly, I needed to bounce this off someone because I was already feeling uh that was maybe going in the, not per se the wrong direction, because you want to give some value, but I don't want to give it all. So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, I need to rethink this. So this is really, so that's where my question was around content.
Kat, I have a workshop that I did on content not that long ago. I'll send you the link. Short version is
Okay.
always provide value. You should be always focused on providing as much value as possible. Shortcut to content marketing is you give them the what and the why, and you keep the how behind paid doors. So and there's a lot of nuances. We can have a conversation around this depending on where you are in your business, where you are in the market, what you're going to exactly do. But if you give them the what and the why, you can keep the how for paying customers so that you can really walk them through it.
And so when we're saying value too, it's not, value isn't necessarily information, correct?
No, so there's information, entertainment, inspiration, especially if you're talking social media. Information is not a big form of value on social media, depending on your audience. If you're on LinkedIn and you're B2B, information might be of value. You really need to know yourself and your audience and your business, and then you decide what type of value you're going to focus on.
Okay, so would you like me to answer these questions and
Yeah,
see if I
perfect
can?
segue.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Kat, before you answer, Kat, I want to pose a question before you answer, and I think it's, Carrie mentioned this with Spanx. Why do you wear Spanx? Is it to make you look good, or is it to make you feel good? Like, what's more important? And what do you think the buyer is more important? Like, I'm a big, huge proponent of why. I know my business is centered around why. And I just wanted to keep that in the back of your head. So I'd love to hear your answers to these questions.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a stab because this is me rethinking all of this. So our question number one is our what, and that's the product. Is that correct? Okay, so my products are um so menopause coaching
I think
and
that's the
soon
how,
to,
isn't it? Like if Cheyenne, if she just starts getting into coaching, isn't that how she
or is that
communicates?
the how?
Or is
No,
that
the
just so
what
I
is the product or service? It's the actual offer. The how is like, do you do it remotely? Do you do it, right?
gotcha?
What
That helps
differentiates?
me. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the what is the product? Okay, so my products are menopause coaching, embodied yoga, sorry, menopause coaching is separate from embodied yoga life coaching because I have yoga, and eventually fitness and nutrition. But so I see it as three. The menopause coaching is separate, yoga, and because it's way I present it is very different, and then the life coaching. So those are the three sorry, whys. The
What?
how,
Those are your whats.
or sorry, what's, and then the how is the systems. And that means, am I correct or am I doing this wrong? So what is the product? The how is the systems, is that correct? Or
It's
how is,
your unique way of doing it. So I know for you, you
oh,
have not your mama's menopause, right? Like you have a unique approach that you're applying to the coaching and such.
so my big overall for all of them is I'm not going to be what you think a yoga teacher is, or a life coach, or a menopause coach, which isn't really out there anyways. And my attack, or that must lead into my why, I guess, is why am I doing this? Because I see in myself and others, especially women, and my target market is women, that they we we lack a few things. We lack being in touch with our own intuition and our bodies, and even knowledge about our bodies. So here, thus the menopause, we know nothing about it. Tammy had a good example of not listening to her intuition. I mean, sorry, she listened to her intuition with regards to her real estate, I believe it was. Uh, she felt that ick, and that was her intuition talking to her, and she listened to it. We don't know what to do with that when we get that. So we're not embodied in the body, so to speak. And plus, you talked about childhood trauma. Um, I am what do you call it? I have gone through it, but it doesn't come up until later in life if you haven't dealt with it. So thus my yoga and my life coaching, so that women, now that we're living longer, what does our life look like? And because I'm using the older women, it's like, what does the next 30 years look like? And then eventually maybe there'll be younger women who would like life coaching as well. But that's my whys. And hopefully I haven't like put it down in stone, but those coming out of my thoughts.
Yeah, that's the core of it, right? And now it's just about sitting with it and kind of distilling it down to something really succinct. Beautiful. Thank you, Kat.
You know what, Kat? I think it's also important to keep in mind that this is just the beginning. And as information becomes more available to you, like Maya Angelou said, you do your best with what you have right now, and when you know better, you do better. So, like this is a great place to ask the first question, and that really should lead to the next question. And this is just like, our life. We're not the same we were the whole, from when we were 20, when we are 30, when we are 40. It's always different, right? And I think it's important for businesses to be that way as well. Does anyone else want to take a stab at discovering their what, how, and why?
Tammy, I will.
Excellent.
So this is a tough one for me. I've actually had conversations with Wendy on the call, Cheyenne, and Carrie about figuring this out. So thank you guys for this topic. Um, as I mentioned before, so my baby's 7 weeks old today, and I've had my business now for 7 years. And the moment she was born, everything kind of shifted for me. And I think it's going to be huge in my business in regards to shifting how I build my business and what I do. But I was thinking about, okay, so like the what of what I do is offering bookkeeping solutions for small to medium businesses to reduce stress and free up their time. Like that's very blunt. The how is offering remote online support, Zoom calls, and I like to look at like a holistic approach to business because I truly believe that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I tend to make friendships with my clients, which my husband always gives me a hard time about and says I shouldn't, but I think that's what actually separates me from other bookkeeping and accounting businesses is because I want my clients to be my friends. I want to know about their life. I want to know what's going on because I think once I know that, I can also see how that's showing up in their business and change some things for them on thought on money. And then the why, I used to think my why was really selfish, but you guys have really shown me today like how I can change that and how it's more for other people too is my why and the reason I went self-employed and started my business is my mom passed away when I was 14 years old and I never got enough time with my mom. And my mom, we ran a karate club, so she was self-employed, worked full time, but then she also worked as an RPN. So when she wasn't running a business, she was also working evenings and nights to be able to make ends meet. So my entire life growing up with her, youngest of 5 kids, we struggled financially and she never had enough time for us. So my biggest goal with being self-employed was I wanted to create the freedom in my own life to do what I want, when I want, how I want to do it. You know, I want to homeschool my children. I want to be able to be in their life. I want to spend that time with them. And I didn't see myself being able to do that working a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 corporate job. So I always thought my why was really selfish. But I think, like Cheyenne said, it comes from that childhood trauma of what happened to me. But now I want that for other people. Like, I want my business owners that I work with to have that time with their kids, to build a business that's ease and money's flowing and they have less stress. And that allows them to live the dream life that I want to live. So that kind of that connection, you know, Cheyenne, you hit on it with that connection, that community, that when my mom passed away, I didn't have that. I didn't have that group of people, that community that people showed up with food and they, you know, like I didn't have that. And I want that going forward for my businesses and for the people I work with. So I definitely, there's some work to do on that in regards to how this all shows up in my business going forward. But thank you guys very much, because you just lit a light in my head there. So thank you.
I can see how powerful that's going to be, Caitlin. I'm so excited for you. That's like there's a strong why in the middle of all that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, like Cheyenne said, absolutely amazing. I love to hear these self revelations. Okay, spotlight. There's two other people, Wendy, Vanessa, or Carrie. Does all right, Vanessa.
So I'm kind of similar to Caitlin. I sort of did this just because I thought I wanted to make money, but now maybe I don't. Well, obviously I do, but maybe that's not the entire reason. So I'm very, very early in trying to start my bookkeeping business. I would also like to work with small businesses. And then I kind of jumped to my why. So I'm a gamer. I love video games and I always play the support role because I love like healing and helping. Um, so I guess if I think a little bit deeper, I really wanted to I got into working on my own because my partner really, really wanted to start his own business but didn't really know where to start, didn't know all the bookkeeping, the business side of it. He loves to do the windows, the doors, the installing. He's very good at that, which I guess is why I got into this. So maybe that has become my why of supporting other people who maybe don't have a support system to start their own business and don't maybe know exactly where to get started and just need help with some of the day-to-day boring things that I actually really love to do. So maybe that's where my why has fallen. I'm still working on my how. But that one seems like it might be a little bit easier to do.
Vanessa, how do you think you could share that message? And I love the part that you're a gamer too. I think that's an important aspect.
So I've always identified with like the different kind of people, the people who don't fit in necessarily. So maybe focusing on people who maybe haven't found their place in society, in the workplace, and have a passion for doing something on their own, but don't really know where to get started.
I think that's strong and you know, like a message. I don't know if you're a member of the Weekend Society or not, and I don't know if it's cool that I can promote it here, but you know, are you? Well, I recommend, you know, seeing about making a meeting with Carrie and sussing this out. She's amazing at being able to draw this information out. I think that's an amazing why. And you know, I'm looking at kind of shifting my business a little bit, and I know that I'm trying to super niche down, and eventually it may get bigger, but you got to start somewhere, and you really want to start on the point of the nail head, and then branch out from there. And just like what you said, are you, you know, I don't know if you're a millennial or what, I apologize for that, but are you this type of person who wants to do your paperwork right, but are too frustrated, or you know, and really let your client see you? I think it's a great start.
Thank you. And thank you for this because I never ever would have gotten there. without that, or without Caitlin's comment on that as well. Kind of.
Nice. And that's a big part of why Cheyenne and I started this, because I'd read a book and then I'd call Cheyenne. It's like, I need to debrief. That's what this is all about. And it really, you gain a lot more. So thank you for taking the time to join us on this process. Was there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's great. And thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. Sparked a new excitement for
Excellent.
today's plan.
That's exciting to hear. Thank you for that. Would anyone else like to? We've still got another 8 minutes in the primary session.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing a little bit, I guess. So I would say my why. So I started, I as an employee, but doing virtual assistant, basically doing administrative tasks and helping a friend of mine who has a small home care business. And when the pandemic and everything that I was doing, I realized that I liked working from home. I did like, although I wasn't setting all my own hours at the time, because I was an education coordinator for the Alzheimer's Society, I still had a lot more autonomy than if I was in the office, for an example. So my why kind of became to help other business owners who want to spend their who spend their personal time doing a lot of things that take them away from what they want to be doing, which then also feeds into kind of what Caitlin said in terms of, I know that I can help give people back time, which is something that they can't buy back, so to speak. Well, I guess in a way, because they pay me to do it, but you know what I'm trying to say, that you can't get that time back once it's gone. And I know, like, just, from my friend who used to spend like every single weekend doing her monthly invoicing, and we never got together because she was always doing it, to now she hands it over to me and it's done, and she doesn't have to think about that part. And what used to take her all weekend, like now takes me 8 hours a month. So anyways, there's that. And then my personal why is to be able to work from wherever I am, because those who know me know I like to go to Aruba and other places. And then also to be able to work from home and make my own hours. And actually, when someone says like, I really need to chat with you today, or can we go have lunch, that I can look at my calendar and say, yep, absolutely, I can make that time for you, right? I don't have children, but making time for family and friends in the same way that people talk about making time for their children. My what is, I'll just keep it short, saying virtual assistant services for Canadian small business owners. So I do only work with Canadians. And I really do love working with local people. Even though I'm virtual, I still really like working with the local people who are in the area. And I guess that's my how, maybe. Is that my how, that I'm a local VA as well as I do it virtually? Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of babbling now, so that's probably good.
I think those are all incredibly valid points, incredibly valid. And time is a big thing. And it kind of goes a little bit back into Gay Hendricks, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And really knowing your whole zone of genius. I know that Cheyenne and I see that whole topic a little bit differently, but I agree, if you can suss it out, then if you have that opportunity, absolutely. I'm sorry to hear, Tiffany, that you're having audio troubles. Would have loved to have heard your intake. Carrie,
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. Well, and I'm, I have my own business outside of Queens. So that's all sort of where my own business hat here. So this has been good because it forces me, and so it's forced me to kind of think in some different ways. So I'm going to lay it out, and then I'm struggling a little bit on the last one. Maybe you can help me. So my what is, I provide coaching, master classes, and I organize monthly networking and training events in my local community. So they're in-person events. So that's my what, correct? See, originally I would have thought that was how I did it. So that's why when your words threw me a little bit. So that's my what. It's really my offer. That's what I provide. Okay. My why is to help women create irresistible offers that provide profitable, or that build profitable businesses. So that's sort of my why. I want them to, and then this is the thing, this is where my value should come in too, like how I want them to feel, right? So to feel empowered, to feel independent, to feel connected. I guess that's the one. So I'm just going to write those down. And then the how is so this what makes me unique to what I do, creating opportunities for connection, fostering community, that kind of thing. Is that where this sort of model goes?
I think personally, you've got the two last ones reversed. That your how should be to help women build profitable business. Like you're helping them build. That's kind of a what and a how. But
Right.
your why, you still haven't talked to them.
Mhm.
Why do they really want to use you? And you've got a lot of flexes.
Mhm.
You've got a lot of history, you've got a lot of accomplishments, and you help take people to the next level. And you have how many examples of success stories under your belt?
Mhm. Okay, so
I
go ahead, Cheyenne.
I think your why and your how are the same across everything I've seen you do. I think your why is that wanting to see women feel empowered and confident and growing in their businesses. And I think your how is that beautiful way you give women a moment to be spotlighted. You share the spotlight, you create community connection. Everything about the way you do your what could be done a different way, but there is a signature Carrie Ramsey how that you bring to everything I've seen you do. And it always creates your why. It's supporting women connecting with each other. It's not the Carrie show. You're empowering them to have a moment in the spotlight. You're feeding their sense of capacity to build the business. It's completely done in such a unique way. You could do anything, and I'd be like, it's the Carrie Ramsey signature. I'm going there.
Well, that's nice to hear. Thanks. Okay, that helps me. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. It's nice to get some outside eyes on it.
I think that's absolutely amazing. Um, we are getting close to the end, and based on that, we said we will keep this session open for those that can stay. I appreciate that time is valuable, and we really want to keep everybody, um, you know, keep everybody with their time. We're going to wrap up. Next session is I'm going to be the person who's going to be presenting, and I'm going to be presenting about one of my very favorite authors, and that's Brene Brown, specifically her Daring Greatly. And one of the secrets to success is support. And this is exactly showing what the support is. And it's a bigger topic than what we give it credit for. So we're going to understand, even though we're solopreneurs, we're not meant to do this alone. We'll discuss that's why it's important to be part of a community where you can find the support, and most importantly, how you can support others, because that makes you grow. It definitely is a big circle in that. So I hope that you're able to join us next month when we do this all over again. And with that, I'm going to let Cheyenne have the last word.
Okay, so Carrie, bye, Carrie. I'm gonna leave us with some homework. I'm gonna give you guys a bit of a challenge, and I realized while I was making this, I'm like, oh shit, I have to do this too. So I want you to create, however you usually communicate with your audience, I want you to create a post, a video, an email about your why. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just kind of tap into that heart center and share something about that deeper purpose behind why you've created this business. And I promise you, watch the reactions. You will get a sense of how powerful the why really is for connecting to your audience. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to do this now. I realized I hadn't done that myself. I've talked a lot about it with people one-on-one. I'm like, Cheyenne, come on. So I will also be doing this. I want you guys to take, even if it's just a small little thing, and just let the feedback that you get really reinforce what we've talked about here today. That's me.
I think that's great. Thank you so much, Cheyenne. I'm going to end the recording now, but you're more than welcome to stay on. And I do have a comment about what you just said.